What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Fatherhood Unscripted. We are in the middle of March. We're here. We're having fun. We're booking some amazing guests. And today we have Anthony Trucks, former NFL player, 3-time American Ninja Warrior, motivational speaker. But at the base of it, he's a dad. And today we're going to talk dad and just have some fun, laid back conversation like we usually do. Anthony, how's your day going?
That was great so far, man. It's Friday. I was not aware that the kids don't have school today. So I have a full schedule. My wife's like, what are you doing? The kids are off. I'm like, that's your fault. You didn't tell me. So dads don't pay attention to those things. You ever seen that one stand-up? What's his name? Oh, the Tennessee kid, Nate Bargatze.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the recent one he's talking about fatherhood. And one of the he says, like, I'm there and all of a sudden the teacher calls. And she's like, something towards your kid. And he goes, why would you call me? He's like, you don't call it dad. He's like, you're better off calling somebody that doesn't even know the kid. Dads don't know anything about teachers' names. Like, we don't know those things. I felt it to my soul. I was like, this guy, he's a dad for sure.
We had that a couple weeks ago where they had Valentine's Day off. And I'm like, what are they getting Valentine's Day off for? So it was like a 4-day weekend. And just,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
You used to bring the little things like the candy stuff to school for Valentine's and like a little bag and pass it around. Little punk kids. All right.
It's different now. They changed everything nowadays.
It is different. True.
Well, let's talk. How many kids do you have?
Yeah, I got 3 kids that I know of. I'm just kidding. No, I got 3 kids. Hey, Mom, we're all locked in since high school sweethearts. But my oldest is 20. He'll be 21 this November. We're gonna for his 21st birthday take him to Epcot Center. He has not drank any alcohol since ever. And the deal was if you don't drink till you're 21. Your mom, your grandma, and I will each give you $5,000. So mom and I are going to give him $7,500 each because grandma ain't giving him no money. and so the thing is, he gets that far, I'll get $15,000. And then I said, we'll take you and 2 friends to drink around the world at Epcot. So we're going to go drink around the world at Epcot for 21st. He runs track at the University of Houston. He's a junior, athletically, academically a senior. Then I have twins who are both high school freshmen. They both run track. My youngest son plays football. And that rounds it out, man, besides my dogs who are crazy people, but it's all good.
I feel you on the dogs. We have a pug, and yeah, he's interesting. DJ actually has twins. He's got all his kids are a lot younger, but he has twins too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got a 4-year-old and my twins are 2. So we're in the thick of it right now.
Thick of it, Joe. That's the wake each other up phase. That's the go to sleep and one wakes up and it's like, damn it, and then one's awake and one's asleep. But multiples are crazy though, man. Like
they are.
My wife and I, we got divorced for 3 years. There's a window of time where I was like, we were off, but statistically it made sense. We're both products of divorced families. And so that raises the statistics up. And then being a parent of a multiple, that raises it like 50-something% also for divorce, rates. So it is tough getting through that. But, we actually fell apart, came back together. We're incredibly strong now. But that multiples thing, it's no joke, dude. It's just, it stresses and it taxes because there's no downtime in that beginning phase.
None at
Kudos
all,
to you, bro.
especially with our oldest being 4. So no downtime whatsoever. He wants to talk nonstop. It's cool seeing their dynamic, the twins, but also with their older brother. It's just really cool because they're so close in age. They have this relationship and dynamic. So it's been a cool journey so far. But
yeah, it's well done, man. I like that. It's a good spacing. Ours are 4 years apart, but it matters to have that kind of connection and closeness to the unit, the family.
Yeah, I don't have twins. I mean, everyone thinks they're twins. So our wives are sisters, and then they look. A lot of people are like, "Oh, is that Karina or is that Jasmine?" Because they look similar. To us, they don't look the same at all. But to the people, like they look similar. But my kids look exactly like me. They both have butt chin. They have brown hair. So everyone thinks they're twins because they're only a year apart, year and a half apart, and so they're like the same height.
Irish twins, they call it, something like that, like real fast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're like, let's just have them back to back and get it over with.
Hey, it's not a bad idea. I think having the kids close is actually good for their longevity. When they turn, 10, 12, 13, 14, helps to have a closeness there age-wise for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's they have a friend to grow up with, it's cool to have that instead of like with me and my closest brother, I think is 3 years younger than me. And then like my youngest brother is 17 years younger than me. So it's like, we don't have really a connection at all. Yeah, my dad just was I'm just going to keep pushing him out. I have 5 brothers and we're all like super spaced apart.
That's wild. Dad just was a rolling stone, huh? Got out there doing his thing. I don't know what that first day. Homie leaving yogurt in the side of the road. That's not a good look.
Well, we talk about dad fails. We talk about all the fun stuff about being a dad. Can you tell us, just one of your favorite memories from your kids and your being a dad?
Yeah. I got a lot of favorite memories. It's not like it's an accomplishment thing. My favorite memory, honestly, was we'd got these, first off, it's preface this way. My wife and I were divorced, got back together. We got back together, we came together, and we moved to Costa Rica, of all places.
Oh, wow.
And then moved there for it was supposed to be 10 months. And someone tried to kidnap the kids. So he shot back home real fast.
Yeah.
And then we were living in people's living rooms, trying to find a place to stay. And then we ended up finding an apartment. We stayed in an apartment, and then we ended up getting a house. And I remember getting the house, and it was fun, the family unit back together. We were divorced and separate for 3 years. We had different partners. It was just a whole thing. And so to be back in a home was big. And we had got these chairs, these big, they're big couches from Ashley Furniture. And they were just if you opened the big one up, it was the size of a queen bed. I don't know why. It was just huge, and it would lay back. We watched TV. And I just remember sitting on this opened up couch, and I had all the family in physical contact with me. I'm in the middle. They had my wife and my oldest son on my right, and my twins on my left, and I just had my arms spread out, and I could touch all of them. I was like, man, it just was a really cool moment. And it's nothing special. I don't even know we were watching, to be honest. It was just we're all there. That is it. Besides that, you'd think it's all the trips and stuff. We've taken trips to Japan. We've taken trips to Alaska and, in Mexico. We've done the Disney World. Those are all cool experiences and memories to make. But the one that settles in is the one that hits my heart most, which was that real centered moment of this is my family unit. So that for me is it, dude.
That's awesome. It's always those ones you don't think that'll be the most touching and meaningful, but that's awesome.
Yeah. It's just all being there. At the end of the day, I realized it took a lot of years of losing stuff and getting it. And all the rest of the world's cool. We're going to have this podcast. We'll chat. We'll talk. I'll talk to you guys, but if I was to pass away right now, nobody listening or you really deeply cares. And it's okay. I don't know everybody. It's not a deep relationship, right? And so for me, it's I understand these relationships, these connections, they matter because I love humanity. I love having these chats. It helps other people's lives. But at the end of the day, the thing that only matters is the people in my house. That's it. My wife, my kids, and that's really it. So those relationships are where I pour into. I literally spend, 80% of my time with my family. I'm here all day if I'm not on a speech on a stage somewhere. And when I'm here, I'm working with the kids. I'm picking them up, dropping them off, taking them places, spending time. And it matters. My oldest son's in college, but we go out there frequently just because that's what matters, man. It's the relationship you can pour into that it actually returns to you. Everything else might return in monetary benefit or, a cool connection or had something simple, but that depth of connection you can't verbalize. You only get that from the loved ones, the family, and the kids.
Yeah. That goes into legacy, right? This is it. This is your legacy. This is, when you leave the world, this is what you've left with the world is your family, your kids.
100%.
So, whatever you've done to set them up for success is how far as they'll be able to, society just, wants to, maybe they have an ego and it's jealousy or whatever. But I want my kids to stand on my shoulders. I want to make that foundation so where they can go even further than I've gone. My goal in life is to make an impact that it echoes for generations. And I think that happens only if your family and, like you said, just giving into your legacy and just pouring into that. So
I found the legacy. Most people go the legacy is a company I built. And it's maybe if you made Louis Vuitton as a brand or something off your, but realistically it is my kids. When my kids go out into the world, when I'm gone, they'll remember me through how they show up and what they do. And then did I give my sons and my daughter the tools to be great humans as well, to pass those on? Did they pick the right person that has similar values that they can give to their grandkids and move on? Because truthfully, my great grandkids probably won't remember my name. It's weird to say it that way, but I don't even know my great grandparents, and I'm not saying that it's not something to be sad about. It's just the reality of generations, but there will be something instilled in them that has gone through that, that's part of how they think or function or operate, whether it's the way I set my kids up to be able to take care of their next generation, who knows? But that's the legacy, dude. That's really what it is. I like you say it that way because not everybody thinks of it that way. They all think of it as, the book that I wrote or the brand I built. And I go, yeah.
Right.
But at some point, people forget the book. New ones get written every day. You know, new companies come and pop up every day. Like, that's cool. But like when I meet your kids in 20 years, like, do I feel you through them? Because that's your legacy.
It's like when you see like one of those old movies, you're like, you look just like your dad. You remind me just like your dad. Like, that's what we want to strive for, you know?
Yeah.
And we've talked about that in the past, like having what does legacy look like for us? And we've talked about, like, you know, the kind of is what we're talking about. What are our kids going to be? What are our grandkids going to be? Like, that's what we're leaving here. And not like you said, we're not leaving companies, we're not writing books. All that stuff's awesome. Do that if you're going to do that. But like, at the end of the day, it's a household is what matters.
It is. Don't get me wrong though. Like, I'm going to build big businesses. I like to make impact. I like to make income. Don't misconstrue this by any means. I grasp that what I get to do, the way I build, what I create, it provides time and money freedom to do things with my kids. The fact that I can be here on a Friday and wake up here and spend time with them and do these things, it's because of what I've created. But I don't want people to think that I'm creating it for legacy. I'm creating it so my kids have two things. One, dad, I'm present because of what I do and how I have my time. Two, they have a very clear example of how to do something that the world thinks is weird, but gives you great experiences of life. So the norm is not to podcast. The norm was not to hop on a stage and tell all your stories, right? And I'm not saying they do that, but to carve out something that my heart desired to do and make it successful, to see me go up, to see me go down, to see me have the breaks of relationship with my wife, like to see life. I have to be a living, breathing example of it, because the words only have power if they see you living it as well. And so for me, it's like I'm living this, I'm experiencing this and doing that. But at the end, dude, it all trickles back to the kids. Like, it may sound funny this way. The way that I interact behind the scenes that I think no one will probably ever know, I think about my kids. Like, if somebody sends me a message, like what message goes out? You know, if I'm talking to my buddies, like, and people start having conversations about girls that aren't their wives, like, I'm like, I don't aid the conversation. That's not my mentality. And I go, if at any point in life, my kids were to see who I am behind closed doors, if they were to see the messages with my team, if they were to see, you know, conversation, if they were to peek in on me, would they have respect for me the way I've told them to live their lives? Because like you said, if the legacy is the kids, the fastest way to destroy your legacy is by showing them that it was all a facade. And so for me, it's like, that's my biggest fear, is to live incongruent outside of what they see. So if at some point in time, someone goes, oh, who are you? Oh, your dad's Anthony Trucks. Oh, I know this thing about him. Like, you know, like, no, like, I don't live my life like that, man. I don't care who you are, what you do. You will not find me in wildness. Like, I'm dialed, because I realize that, one, it's not hard. It's who I am. I'm a clean and clear guy. But two, God forbid my kids ever have to experience a moment of, that's who my dad is, with a negativity. That would break my soul, man. So I live life clean. I build things great. I do things the right way, in front and behind the lights, you call it. And then that way I have a really pure experience of life with my kids, with my life outside of my kids, and even what feeds into their experience of me every single day.
Yeah, I like that. Just your character, right? Who you are behind closed doors. Because, you know, you can put on a facade all day long, but who are you when you relax and you're hanging out with the guys, or like when your guard is down? Who is that person? Is it somebody who does live out their values? And, you know, because you tell your kids, you know, I want you to strive. You mentioned dreams, and we just talked about this recently, but like, you tell your kids, I want you to dream big. I want you to do this. But then dad is working a dead end job and not living out his dreams or his passions. Yeah. So why are they going to think that they can live out theirs? So like you said, be that example. Be the example. You tell them to tell the truth and be honest in all situations, but then they find out that you lie in every situation. It's like, then why am I doing it? Why am I being this person that dad is telling me to be, even though he's not living those values out? And so I like that.
Yeah, dude, totally mix them up. But those things happen, man. I see it happen with people all the time. They're just different behind the scenes, and that's not my place to step into their role. Those aren't my guys I hang out with. But yeah, dude, it's a problem, because for me, I have a tight circle because of this. You know, you get around people, you get to know them, and it's all good. And then after a while, like there's a person in my world who is, he's a fairly known guy in our local area. And we do grow up in that same blue collar area of like, I work real hard so my kids can have anything they want. And then what do? They work real hard so their kids have anything they want. And what do? They, you know, and it just trickles down of working real hard so the kid can have what they want. Really what they get is a job. And like you said earlier, the holding, putting kids on their shoulders, most guys, I see them want their kid to do what they do because it validates what they're doing. I go, no, dude, like, you know, like if they want to do it, cool, but don't validate what you're doing by making your kid do something that you don't like doing because it's beating your body up and you have long hours you hate. So it's kind of crazy. But I think the bigger picture for me is going like, if I'm going to have my kids step out into the world, I want them to have something they love to do. I support them in doing it. It all moves smooth. So a lot of dynamics to it, man. I don't know. I don't have the perfect answer for all this stuff, but it is something where, yeah, I want my kids to have this experience. But there's a guy locally who I say incongruency, like he's, you know, Christian, talks about stuff, but then he has someone in his life, very close to his life, who I recently found out had, you know, got in the way, we'll call it, was, you know, initiated kind of an affair situation with a very close friend of mine's wife. And now you know, it's a small world. So telephone gets around and come to find out that this guy, who I thought was an upstanding character human, who portrays that at least, right? This is his homeboy. This is his buddy. And now I no longer will talk to him. I don't hate him. It's not like I'm mad. It's not my place at all, right? But I know for me, as the kind of man I am, if one of my buddies came and said, hey, I'm sleep with this dude's wife, I'd be like, hey, they'll lose my number. Like, that's just because I don't want my boys to watch that and think, oh, dad condones that, right? It's all these little nuanced pieces. And so it is like my circle gets tighter and tighter. And it's not because I want it to, but it's because it has to.
Yeah, and just like you said, it's just all about that character. Like, and it goes to, I mean, every part of your life. Like, I think I was listening to your podcast, and you talked about how my brain's going to die. It always does this when I have a thought, and then it just disappears. You talked about how we don't want to be the person, or say like, oh, I'm going to go do this, and then you're just not going to show up, and you're just going to keep saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and then you never do the thing you say you're going to do. So it goes into that too, just all your character, and like you said, you don't want your kids to go down the road and be like, what the heck? Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to, if you don't want to do it, don't say you're going to do it. That's okay. Also, you know, it's a congruency. Like, if I don't want to just, hey, I don't feel like doing that. Cool. Own up to that. I don't feel like doing that. It's fine. But that, man, that separation between who you say you are and who you are, it's big and it matters. And I think it determines the quality of character of your partner in life, the people that are your friends in life, the business you get to build and run. Like, all the things matter. And all I can do is live it and then tell my kids. And I can talk about it at a stance of, you know, hey, world, this is what I think. You know, whether they adopt it or don't adopt it as a stranger to my life is completely irrelevant. But the people that are closest to me, like my boys, they're men. Now, I'm not saying that they're like these, you know, go out in the woods and hunt. Like, they don't even know how to use tools. It pisses me off. Like, it's my fault 100%. I never taught them to use things. I am ridiculously handy. I will fix borderline anything besides electric. But my boys can't. But I would tell you this, like, they understand the respect that's necessary of everybody in life. They understand how to show up certain ways. Like, they understand the caliber, like that my boys, like, we don't lie. Like, trucksters don't lie is a language point. I told them, I said, boys, if you ever cheat on anybody you're with, bro, do know I'm putting a fist to your chest. Like, we're not built that way. Trucksmen are great men. And I live that. Your brother lives that. You'll live that also, right? And so it's just this standard that I set and hold. And so, God forbid, something comes and chips away at it. But I think that for me, that I can complain about the world all day long. But if my world isn't right, I have no stance to complain.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, you know, be the change you want to see in the world, right? So you can't really complain if you're not actions, you know, like you were saying, speak louder than words. So if you're not moving the needle forward to make the change, then you can't sit there and say, it's like when people complain about, let's say, like the president or the mayor or whatever, and they're like, well, I didn't vote. Well, then how are you complaining? You didn't vote. You didn't speak up. You didn't, you know, voice whatever you wanted. So it goes to life as well. And I know something that was mentioned too is just building that trust within yourself and building that trust within your kids. Because if you say you're going to do something and don't do it, eventually your own self will say, nah, you ain't going to do it. Even if you want to. Even if it is something that you know it will help you and you get better, you get mentally healthy or physically healthy, your body's saying, I don't trust that because you said that you do it before and you haven't done it. And so your kids will do the same thing. Dad said he's going to hang out with me today, but in the past, he doesn't really ever hang out with me. So it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So
that's
like
it's hard too. That's the hard part about, in my opinion, I'll give my opinion preface, right? It's, I feel like the emotional part of following through with the words is the hard part. It's the consistency. Yesterday we're in the house and my wife, she had done the laundry, and the laundry's sitting in the living room. The twins each have, one basket. And I guess she'd asked him 2 or 3 times to come get the basket of laundry. And so she's like, can you ask the kids? Because they won't get these laundry. And I go, hey, Tay. She goes, yeah. Can you and your brother come get your laundry real quick? Yeah, hold on. They both walk in, get it, and walk out. She's looking at me, both amazed and pissed at the exact same time. She goes, why do they listen to you like that? I go, I've been telling you for years, love. At the end of the day, 2 things have to happen. One is you have to lay a foundation out so they understand that when you say something, they got to listen to it. You have to say things. You have to put your words out. You have to, Second thing is you have to actually back up what you say. And her thing is she is now experiencing the lack of doing that over the years. So I tell she says, well, you're mean. I go, I'm not mean. I'm consistent. I just tell them what's going to happen. And then if they don't do that, I just hold the line. That's all I do. All I do. I've always been that guy. So I go, I'm not going to outwardly just go crazy on you, but I'm going to say, hey, if you don't do this, this is the consequence, the way the world works, right? And then when it happens, I go, great, here's now the consequence coming to life. And it's hard, and she doesn't like it. And so it's not that so when I ask them to come do something, it's not anything more that they understand I'm consistent, respectful. So if I ask them hey, can you come get it? Dad says something. There's a connection to how dad functions. And they probably are in their head going, well, if I don't get this, what's going to happen? I don't want to know what that is. Let me go get the laundry, right? And they get it. And I also go, hey, thanks, guys. No problem. Love you, Dad. And she's like, what the hell's going on? I go, I'm telling you, I've been telling you for years, when you say things, back it up. And so it's one of those things but here's the thing, emotionally, it's hard. You guys know, you're like, hey, the 4-year-old, put that down. You're going to get in trouble. It's like, gosh, they didn't put it down. Now I got to be dad. It's it's hard. It's emotionally difficult. I've been doing it for so many years. But now it's easier. Now, if I ask for it to get done, I do it. They just go, okay. And we've got that cadence. And so I feel like for me, that whole listening, following, just being structured, it is a different lift. And it is being a congruent, straightforward human, living it out, and then having the kids follow suit. It's different. But I do know that that's what I think kids 100% need, because the world we live in nowadays, you can complain about it all day long, but starts at home, and a lot of it is if they're not afraid of somebody at home, they're not afraid of the world out there. If I can't make you move, you don't care what your teacher says, your principal says, and God forbid the police say, right? So I'm like, hey, bro, if I got to teach these kids how authority works, and you may not like the authority, but it's authority, right? So you got to adhere to it. So my son, obviously I'm a black guy. I live in a country where there's always conversation about this, and at the end of the day, if I adhere to what they're saying, which I've been in situations, and I go, all right, I may not like it, but I will submit to authority in the situation at hand to get home safe. God forbid something happens, right? And I go, son, fight the battle you got to fight now. Fight the one you have to fight later. So maybe you do get a punk. It's statistically, it's possible. It's not an impossibility. It's not 0%, right? You might get one of those dudes. Don't make it an issue. Just submit to the authority at hand right now. Do what needs to be done. And then from there, obviously, you can pursue, the conversation later if need be. Unless it's a safety issue, but still, it's most people, they don't have that at home and then wonder why kids go out into the world and fall apart. And then kids wonder why they fall apart. Why? My world sucks. You know what I hate? I'm going on a rant right now. You know what I hate about this whole Gen X thing of well, baby boomers, they ruined it and we can't get jobs. And the housing market's crazy. And I go, at the end of the day, money comes to those who earn it and work for it. The way you do it will change by generation. But here's the other piece of it. There's a study that came out that found that 50% of people that get jobs at the Gen Z level are getting fired within the first month. And they're not getting fired because of pay. They're getting fired because they don't have human skills to communicate, interact, to work. They don't take feedback. They don't do the job. They just complain all day. They don't show up. They're horrible to work with. And then those are the ones that complain, there's no way for me to buy a house. Yeah, people want to hire you. They want to pay you, but you didn't learn how authority works. So you're showing up being an idiot, losing your job and then blaming the world at large. Like, what the hell are you doing? It's wild to me. But that's mom and dad's fault to me. Like, for me, I'm going, if I was to trickle it back and my kids go into the world and they lose a job because they don't understand how authority works, how to be respectful, dependent, like reliable, I just didn't teach them those things. Like, and it starts with like my kid's alarm. I do not let my kids snooze their alarms. I get pissed. They go, why? It's what it's built for. I go, no. It's built for people that don't know how to get out of bed. They can't follow the simple first instruction. So I go, when the alarm goes off, just get out of bed. And I go, if you want to get up 10 minutes later, just set the alarm for 10 minutes later. You know, like, but learn that simple thing so you're not having, it's just a weird internal piece. So we're like, first thing, rock and roll. And so I just, my little rant there, but I find this, the world at large, it all trickles back to the household, man. How moms, especially heavily how dads function and show up in the household, determines your kid's ability to live a better life. And then they also, you'll notice, well, maybe you'll notice it. By my perspective, you will. I can tell when people have dads at home. Like, they're able to see the things that I see. Like, I'll be with some of my kids' friends and they'll say things and I go, this kid noticed it. Who's your dad? You know, like, oh, he's this guy. Like, you can tell because dad put him on game at some point in life and they can notice, like, that person's being stupid. Why would they, just like they notice it. And I go, that's not a mom trait. Not that moms aren't amazing, but those aren't typically mom traits that are instilled in people, but you can see when it exists.
Oh my gosh. I just see, this is what happens.
That's right. I'm bogarting the conversation. I'll tell you, when you ask me, you want to talk about, it's my favorite topic. No one asks me about this. I can talk about this all day long. There's so many different angles and directions and things. I'm constantly, my buddy Jay and I often speak about childhood and fatherhood. He's in a different situation where he has two of his own boys and a stepdaughter. So there's a whole new dynamic he plays with there. But his fatherhood thing, man, I'm very intrigued by it on a daily basis. Because also, I didn't have a dad that was in the same manner. Like, I was given away into foster care. My biological father, I didn't find him until I was 21. Then I found out he knew about me, but just never came back. My adoptive dad's only 12 years older than me. He's a white guy who just pipe fitter, love him, but I emotionally surpassed him probably like, early 30s. And it's nothing negative, but like, he just didn't, continue to grow as a human in certain aspects. Love him to death. He's, he supported the family, all those kind of things. But there is, like, I don't have that person to lean on. I don't have a father figure to an extent that I can go like, hey man, I got this business issue, marriage issue, whatever it may be. And so I find myself having deep conversation with people just to find my footing on it. And a lot of what I do as a dad is just like, what does my gut tell me is the right thing? Not the easy thing or what feels good, but the right thing. So like, if I mess up, I apologize to the kids. Like, I found myself on many occasions going to my own children going, hey, I messed up. I'm 100% wrong in this situation. And it's necessary but there's little nuanced pieces that fatherhood for me, it matters, because as I get to my back end of my life, not that I'm anywhere near the back end, but I'm on the downward climb, maybe in 40s. Is that what they call it? I don't know. Statistically, if I live to 80, I'm on the backward climb of it. I go, I am going to get little by little more and more irrelevant. And that's okay as long as I have a family I love and a service to the world that I feel fulfilled in while I do it. And I got a partner in life that I love, that I know loves me. And that's all I need. I don't need the rest of it. I don't need the fame. I don't need a bunch of fortune. I didn't need those unit pieces. And so as I get to that point, I spend a lot of time contemplating like fatherhood and really, how do I give this gift of peace to my boys? And the only way to give it to them is to have them be subjected to difficulty. That's it. Their peace is coming right now for both of them through like passionate pursuit of difficulty. My oldest son, he's out there doing track and it's hard. He's in Houston. He's trying to, he's running. It's a lift. Division I track it's Division I sports. It's just not easy. My youngest son, he wants to play football. There's a lot that goes with that. Everything from eating food to training to lifting. He's also doing track. It's a big lift on him. And I do not want to ease it at all. Like where they ask me to take pauses, I go, no, man, we got to lean in. This is when you don't want to do it, we do it. And so I'm doing that for the ability for them to show up later in life and stand next to somebody else and have the same problem in front of them. And this person crumble and them go, I'll do it in 20 minutes and move on. Right. That's it. That's the way I provide for them a future of peace like I feel. Because I go, what made me me? And it's like, I've never shied away from work. I lean into the things that are difficult. It's given me freedom and time. And so if I can give them something, it's not give them the fruits of my labor, but give them the tools of my labor.
Yeah, I like it. Just giving them like, mentality and how to push through. And I even like what you said, snoozing the alarm. It starts with those little small things in life that say it's okay to push things off, or it's okay. And you may not think of it that way, because who doesn't, like, at one point in life just snooze your alarm thinking, it's just, no, we got to get up. It's like you're telling yourself, it's okay. You don't have to show up right away. Just slowly, no, get up, show up, and go after the things. So I like that. And you talked about like things like not being easy. Like when you have to give the consequences to your kids, like it just teaches them that like life happens, and you can either let it happen to you or let it happen for you. And you can push through, you can get up, you can, or you can just let it bulldoze you over and complaining about you don't have a job, but you didn't respect authority. You didn't, and like you said, it does start at home. It does start with those tough conversations that parents don't want to have, because when you're looking at a 4-year-old, you're like, my heart breaks that I'm having to give you a consequence. Yeah. Like, and it probably has to do with part of your childhood, right? Where you're feeling like you're that little kid again, and you're like, oh man, like I want to protect that little kid. But the same respect, it is protecting them for future life. And so,
it is.
Yeah, I like
it's
that.
Making them their own protectors. I won't be around forever. 100%. I know that. I'm not wishing for me to leave by any time, right? I want to be here as long as I can while they're alive, but I will leave at some point. And then my protection was a facade, like their protection overall, because the best protection is, can I give you the tool to protect yourself?
Right.
And that's emotionally, it's mentally, it's psychologically, it's all those things. Spiritually, we're very anchored in faith as a family. There's a lot of little pieces to how we do. And I also spend emotional time with my kids separately. Like, it's a weird way to say it, but every Monday and Thursday, I send each of my kids like a very personalized text message that has to do with like kicking off the week and then closing a week. And those little nuanced pieces, like their conversations and their connections, they're knowing dad's there, and like these little, but yeah, dude, it's just ingraining in that flow of it. Mm-hmm. And it takes work, but that's the only way I can truly protect them, is to give them the essence of confidence, capabilities, skills, mentalities, things that I never got, right? I'd never have been given that. I'm like, I know that this is what they should have, so I'm going to do it. And so these little nuanced pieces are me giving them those things, so that at some point when I am gone, I'm not gone. Mm-hmm. Like they've got these nuggets, they have these abilities, and they may not get it till they're, much older.
Of course.
Dude, if I could look back and like, say, did I do things right? I'll know the answer is yes when my kids, when they have the ability to live life and navigate things and not freak out and not stress and feel good. My oldest son, there was an interesting dynamic that took place when he was younger where he didn't like talking to other people. Oh, you're going to love and hate this one. So I realized that my kid, good kid, right? Sweet guy. He's a nice kid. And I go, that's not going to work. Not that I don't think that a nice guy will win by any means, but for the life he's going to be subjected to, looking like me, being in our society, I'm like, you have to be a little bit more outgoing, strong. If you want to have a life where you feel empowered. I've known guys and grown up with guys who didn't have that ability to talk to people, and they feel like life's a confining space. Going to the airport, going to meet girls, like these little things become difficult. And I go, no, you got to have some breath of air of who you are when you walk in a room, chest held high. So how do I develop this? I go, I got to teach them to talk to people. Because I noticed at one point, we were at a line for football, it's like flag football. And I was like, hey, go up there and ask them to use that ball pump to pump your football up. We're like 10 people back. And he goes, no, Dad, no, I don't want to. Like, he wouldn't go ask the person to pump no matter what I said. So I'm just sitting here internally, like my balls are shriveling. I'm like, what did I do as a dad that this dude can't just go ask him? Like, what's going on? So I was like, we're going to fix this. So we got these Jamba Juice gift cards because he was going to go on a trip to Washington, D.C. So Jamba Juice, you get the gift cards, you buy a stack, you go sell them door to door, whatever as profit you get to keep because you bought the cards already. So I go, all right, go door to door, right, to sell them. He's supposed to do it. He wouldn't do it. So one day Mom leaves and I go, here we go. And and what I do is I get these cards and I give them to him. I say, you have 20 of these. You're going to go sell them door to door. If you don't sell 20 today, you're going to sleep outside in a tent with the dogs. Now, the thought of him sleeping outside the house, my wife would not like. She doesn't like the idea of that. But he's like, no. So he wouldn't move. And I go, you got to do this. He wouldn't leave the house. So I literally picked him up. He's in his shorts, basketball shorts. I pick him up. I walk him outside. I put him down. He's a skinny guy at the time. I put him down. I close the door. I go upstairs, get his shoes, pants, and a shirt, open the door, throw it to him. I say, you need to leave this house and go sell these gift cards. So I close the door. I lock it. He's knocking. He eventually stops knocking. 30 minutes, 45 minutes go by, and I'm going, the odds of him going are slim. So I open the door in the front door. He's not there. And I walk around the other side of the house, to like the side yard. He's sitting there, sit down, still in his basketball shorts, crying. And I go, you better get up. And I walk him to the edge of the concrete. I take him to the actual street, the sidewalk. And I go, bro, you're here. Do not cross back over this line of the driveway, dude, or it's going to be a problem. You need to go sell these gift cards. So he begrudgingly gets dressed and he, trounces off. About an hour goes by. He comes back beaming, bro, beaming. Dad, I sold 19. I'm talking the lift of his chest. He was a different little kid for an hour of going door to door to sell these things, like he navigated and he did it. And then I go, great. You got to sell one more. You're asleep in the backyard. I'll let him know. And so I did allow him to sell it to grandma. So grandma bought it. But there was this moment of where I had to force him to do this thing, to come out of his shell, to be the guy, right? Now, fast forward from that point in time, 8 more years. He goes to middle school, he goes through high school, he's off to college. And this is where the lessons I built for him, like this is where they mattered. Like it doesn't matter when I'm here with you. It's like when I give you and you go out into the world, do you have what you need? And we had gone up there, we dropped him off to college. He's University of Oregon at the time before he transferred to Houston. He's up at Oregon and, it was like a week into him being there and he's going to get a package because Amazon had sent something, getting stuff for his dorm room. And I hear him, we're talking and all of a sudden he goes, hold on, Dad. Hey, I was standing in line right there. That's what he said. And I don't know who it was, but he goes, hold on, Dad. He goes to somebody else, I was standing in line right there. And I go, there he is. It was like this. He wasn't disrespectful, but he held his ground. He knew who he was. He wasn't afraid of talking to somebody. Like, I was like, that's what that moment sounds so simple, but everything that occurred in that little space of that moment was like, all right, he's good. He could do this. Like I prepared him. He's going to be fine in college. It just sounds weird, but that's what it is. Does he have the gall to stand up for himself in the moments that he needs to? And he does. And so now he's living a great life. He's a very likable guy. He works real hard. Like when I talked to his coach, like, dude, you did a good job with him. And I go, thanks, man, because I tried. Like it was not easy. But that's the thing is like, I can protect you, but then do I give you the tools to protect yourself?
So something we talk about quite a bit is how we have, it's just like a little catchphrase. It's just parenting is only hard for good parents. And it's real easy to be a bad parent. You just don't do it,
Yeah, I like
but it's hard when you have to show up and you have to do those things that are going to make your kid be the person they need to be, Yeah,
that's well said. I've never heard it that way, but hell yes, 100%. It's easy to just be like, go watch the thing and shut up and leave me alone. And then you get older and like you never get to avoid hard. You choose the hard. You can choose the hard of parenting your kids into their 50s, navigating their adulthood like a baby still, or you do the hard things now consistently, and then it's easier later on. But you don't get to avoid it. You get to choose which one you want.
Good. Yeah, no, I agree. Because there's some parents who they still have their 30-year-old child, I guess you can, in quotations, like that are still living and still living off of mom and dad. It's not even like they have like a McDonald's job or whatever. And cool, that's a cool starter job, to get your feet wet in the work industry, whatever. But if you're still doing it well into, your 30s and 40s, and you're still living with your parents, like that is a reflection of things not done in childhood, like the hard things, because now you're still having to take care of them when they should be venturing out in the world and making a name for themselves and, putting their mark on the world. They're still under your wing and under your mark. And so, yeah, I like what you said. You either choose the hard now, or you choose the hard later. You can't avoid it at all. So
it is, yeah.
Yeah. Well, as I know we all have to be other places here pretty quickly. We like to end with one question. just something, short, concise. What is one thing, if you had a new dad, old dad, any dad come up to you and be like, hey, what is one piece of advice you could give me? What would you tell them?
What is one piece of advice I give to the dad? It's a great question, man, because there's so many different areas. And here's what I'll have to preface it with this. I think we know what right and wrong is. I think dads know, humans know, we know what's right or wrong. And our gut tells us immediately whether it's right or wrong. And then we either go with it or we adapt some ability to convince ourselves we're not so bad because we didn't do the right thing, right? So let's just preface it by saying, I'm going to assume that most people know what's right or wrong. Show up for the event, don't show up for the event, be dialed in for your kids, you're too much, apologize, like just be, do those things. But our ego gets in the way. But I will say, for me, I had a buddy who his son had a firstborn, and he reached out to me. He's like, hey man, I respect you as a dad. He's like, what is some advice? And he kind of did the same thing. And I said, always do what's right, even if it feels wrong. Mm. And when I say feels wrong, I'm not saying it feels wrong. More like feels difficult, feels bad. And I told him, I said, I think you'll know what's right. As a father, we know what's the right thing to do, but you can't let your ego get in the way of that. Like you can't let this, like my mom, she used to go, well, I'm right. Why? Because I'm your mom. But that's not a good reason. That's just stupid. Like, just because you're my mom doesn't mean that you know that what the color of the thing is or why the science does this. And so you could be 100% wrong. I'm not that guy. Like, I'm not like, I'm right because of your dad. I'll go, I'm right because of this. And if I'm wrong, I go, oh, my bad. Like, you're right. So I've always been a guy that goes, do what's right for the kid. And I don't mean like to do, what feels right. Because the easy thing feels right. Give them an iPad and let them just be raised by the computer or raised by the screen, right? So for me, it's like I go, in life, as you're parenting, man, if the priority is your kids to be great, and you really want that, do what's right for them. It might be holding the line. It might be punishing them. It might be, giving them grace and patience. Your gut will know, I think, most of the time, and then do that, even if it feels uncomfortable and difficult and wrong. There's always these navigatable moments that we all have the ability to step into and do what's best for the kid. And oftentimes, in my experience, it does not feel good for me as a dad.
Yeah. That's kind of like we go back to the word. It's hard that way but the good parents show up in the hard spots, Yeah. And no, I like that because we have to have that. And like you said, most people hopefully should know what's right and wrong, but it's when that gut feeling kicks in. Are you going to listen to your gut or you're not going to listen to your gut, And so, but it is easy nowadays to like, oh, hey, here's a screen, go do your own thing. And a lot of parents, I do go that way. I am not one to talk because I have in the past, like, hey, listen, I've had a long day. Let's do some screen time. But it's about the balance and it's about raising your kids right.
Yeah. That's it, man.
Awesome. Well, sir, where can people find you online if they want to learn more about you?
Yeah. Well, if you go to @AnthonyTrucks on Instagram, that's where you'll find me. Although I'm actually going to be starting to transition my conversations like this, we'll call it, or more of the personal heart of me be transitioned to some my other brand called Dark Work. The Anthony Trucks brand will be more geared towards like speaking and coaching speakers, which is one of my companies, and just my journey there, my experience there. Well, the Dark Work brand's where I want to be able to provide insights and thoughts on all walks of life and things you do behind the scenes that allow your life to shine bright in the light. And this kind of thing falls under that umbrella. But I also don't want it to be like born of Anthony only. Years from now, I want people to conceptually tap into the concept of doing the things that are unseen, unsexy, that allow you to have a great life in the light. So that's something where I'll kind of house those thoughts and ideas there. It'll still be me, obviously, behind the scenes and in front of the camera all the time. But it's just a different place to have the discussion. So Anthony Trucks and then Dark Work. And then website-wise, it's anthonytrucks.com or darkwork.com. Can't miss them.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on. Thank you for blessing us with your time. Yeah. We love the conversation. We love just meeting new dads and just enjoying the journey, So we would love to have you back sometime. We'll keep the conversation alive. And awesome. DJ, love you.
Yeah. Just say real quick, thank you for coming on here. Thank you for taking the time to be transparent. I feel like that's what we need in this world is transparency. People who are real on how life is. Because we live in a society where it's social media and you see little glimpses of great life, but you don't get to see the rest of their life. And transparency is key to see what that looks like and how they got to that point. So I appreciate that. I appreciate taking the time for us. So.
Hey, no problem, man. We all got to do it. It generally does take a village. You know, it's because even now part of my job as a dad is sending my son off to, go to football and track practice with other people that I go, hey, I'm going to step back because now the world has a piece of you. They got to, just little nuances, but I find that all of us have a role to play in even small ways and plant a seed. Like I got a good close buddy who is his son, I've worked with him for years. Like this morning, I saw that his dad posted, he got his first varsity letter as a freshman. So I sent the kid a personal text like, hey man, congrats, well done. Like that takes a village. He also does it for my son at different times, And so, yeah, these moments where people are here and listening, like take something from it, apply something. That's why I do it. It matters. Like the world needs, in my opinion, more good, strong men because it's been removed and it's getting, pushed to the side. But this place we live exists because of good, strong men. So alienation of it sucks, and it starts at home, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Everyone listen, you guys know where to find us. Go check out Anthony, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Love y'all.
Guys, peace.